and welcome to Community Insights. Yes, I am your host for today. My name is Pastor Eve Rogers, and I'm with Churches Outreach Network, as well as the Interfaith Clergy of Pitt and Martin counties. I'd like to welcome you, our viewers, to this broadcast. And as you will be watching and hearing from our very special guest today, you will become so excited that we have our younger generation of citizens of our region, and I dare say of this nation, that are really becoming more and more engaged and even entering into leadership paths in terms of being involved in those things that concern the quality of life and justice for all. We will be talking with our guest this morning, Mrs. Faye Bardo, and Faye is one of two advisors for the Pitt County Council Youth for Justice and Change. Let me get that right. The Pitt County Youth for Justice and Change. Welcome, Faye, to Community Insights.
Well, good morning, Eve. It is a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We appreciate you so much. You and the other advisor is Molly Holderman. Amen, for doing such a fantastic job. I have just been so inspired myself as a slightly older citizen than our youth. Amen, for all that they have been doing. Last year, we really got the brunt of what this group is about. But before we get into a lot of the details and the initiatives and endeavors of this great young people's group, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in this area and sort of what your passion is. Because your history and mine, you know, when we first came together,
Yes.
it was through our professional careers.
That is correct.
You with a background in, I believe, mental health. Mine was in juvenile and criminal justice, and we came together and we worked together for the betterment of families and youth, and as well as older adults. So just tell us a little bit about that. Give us some background.
We sure did, Eve. I am from Pitt County, born and raised right here. I went to school. I got my degrees from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and got my master's here at ECU. My profession by trade, I am a licensed clinical social worker. As you said, I'm a mental health therapist, counselor. And you're absolutely right. That's how our lives crossed, and that is with working with children. And those were the children and the families that were involved in the juvenile justice system.
Yes.
And so what I've always done for the past 35 years, I've always worked and served children and families.
Wow. And isn't it just amazing? But this is just another step in your course of destiny, in that you worked professionally and had a career helping and intervening with young people and the issues that they face. But then now you are helping in a different level, but certainly young people nonetheless. Tell us about when the Pitt County Youth for Justice and Change originated, when and how. What was the impetus that began to bring, and who is the Pitt County Youth for Justice and Change as a group?
Okay, you're absolutely right. I worked professionally serving families and children, and now I'm volunteering.
Yes.
So I transitioned from working to volunteering, but still working with children and families. The Pitt County Youth for Justice and Change started, it was a spinoff. It was a spinoff from the March for Our Lives rally in 2018.
Yes. Okay.
I'm quite sure most of the audience is familiar with the March for Our Lives rally. There was a rally that was the result of the Parkland High School
Mass shooting incident.
in Florida. And on March 24th, there was a national rally day, and we decided that we would have a rally. And when I say we, I mean a group of concerned parents in Pitt County, mainly moms. There were some fathers there, but mainly moms. And we decided to have this rally. And we had the rally, and we invited many different speakers to come and speak at the rally. It was an anti-violence, anti-school shooting rally. And Pastor Rodney Coles was one of our speakers at the rally. And he spoke about anti-violence. And afterwards, he asked to meet with me and Molly later that next week. And he talked about forming this organization. So Pastor Rodney Coles he's the brainchild behind this organization.
Wonderful.
And he asked if Molly and I would help him in terms of starting this organization. And he also wanted my daughter, Lauren Bardo, to be a part of it, because Lauren was the main speaker, the main organizer for the March for Our Lives rally. And because she was the main organizer for the rally, because it was organized by the children. The parents helped them, but the children really organized it. And so we started this group, and Lauren, my daughter, was the president of the group. And of course, if she's going to be a part of it, then I'm going to be a part of it. And,
Absolutely.
And so I asked Molly to help us out.
Okay. How did you, though, Lauren, I know this beautiful, powerful young lady, and I know she's passionate like her mom is about things and helping other people. That's bottom line. It's about helping and reaching out when you see a need or a gap that something needs to be raised to the top of the table and dealt with in a civil and strategic manner. That's you, Faye. And so it's no wonder that Lauren sort of is following your DNA trail in that. But how did Lauren and you and Molly go about engaging other young people? And tell us who they are, not meaning by name, but where now we have a group of some 15, 20 persons. Who are they? Where did they come from?
Okay, these kids also were part of the rally. They were part of the rally. And so what we did was we reached out to the children who were already part of the rally and asked them if they would want to join this organization. And the children did. And as a matter of fact, we did not name the organization. The children themselves, the students themselves named the organization.
Okay. Now, what is the age group? Because you keep saying children.
I know.
And I hope Lauren is not listening
know,
to you right now. She's going to correct you. She's going to correct you when she gets home.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But what about the youth? Okay, what's the age range or the grade range in school?
The grade range is middle school. We start middle school through college, because we actually have two young men who attend ECU. Both of them, one of them I think is a sophomore at ECU, and the other one is a junior at ECU. So we have an expansive age range.
Yes.
And the children, the students, the youth are the ones who decided the name, and then the youth are the ones who decided the initiatives that they wanted to focus on in the organization.
Okay. Now, so the organization has been in place and in play. Because we have seen them around in different forums and different organizations. We were privileged not only last year in 2019, but this year, January 2020, to have them on the program at our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Day. And they just do such a phenomenal job. They present and represent so well young people. And so I'm excited about that. So how has the group continued to grow and to bring others on board? Because I know they've said that in my presence when we've been at various forums, that they want other people to come and join them. So it's not just those who began, but we want to add to.
Yes, we definitely want to add to.
Voices and passion.
Voices and passion, and we also have students who graduate and leave. So we are constantly recruiting youth to join the organization. All of the youth right now are from the Pitt County area, and they're all in the different schools, whether it's public school, we have private school kids, we have public school kids, and we also have early college students as well.
That's wonderful.
So we have a wide variety of children, and we're very diverse also. We're very diverse, and we're constantly recruiting students to join the organization. We have a website as well. where people can go there and get information.
Okay, we can get that website information as we close our time together today.
Okay.
But let's talk about what do they do?
Okay.
What are the initiatives?
Okay.
What are some of the endeavors? What are some of the programs? What are some of the projects
Okay.
that Pitt County Youth for Justice and Change? Let's unwrap and unpack that title that they gave themselves. So what are they doing to manifest justice and change?
Justice and change is very broad. It's very broad. The initiatives one of them is to focus on racism and discrimination and segregation in the community, and particularly in the schools.
In the schools, yes. I've heard them say that.
Yes.
Elaborate on that a bit.
Particularly in the schools, because those kids, they're in school and they see what's going on. They recognize the racial profiling. They recognize the discrimination in reference to disciplining. Like there are more children, more students, more minority students are being disciplined sterner and harsher than non-white students. And also in terms of academics, that was a really concern of theirs. They noticed that in a lot of your top grade levels and a lot of your AP courses, your higher courses, that there weren't many minorities represented in those classrooms. And they felt that a lot of that had to do with racial inequality.
Wow. And they were concerned about
those
that.
kids.
Isn't that amazing?
Those students were concerned about that.
Their peers.
They were concerned about and another thing they were concerned about also is that, especially in the cafeterias, and this was a big issue for them. It was a lot of segregation in the cafeteria, that in the and other common areas where you have non-whites in one particular area, and then you would have white kids in other areas, and that it was segregated. And not that it was the school did the segregation, but it was de facto segregation, and that was a real issue for them also. And they wanted to look at ways that they could change that. So you would not have that segregation in schools. And these students, this is what they thought of. We didn't think of this. This is what they thought of. They were really, really concerned about the racial inequality in the public school systems.
So they set their own agenda. Has it been fairly consistent since the inception of the group, or has it sort of changed? How are they tweaking it as they go along?
They've broadened it. And of course, school violence.
Yes.
School violence was that initiative also. Yes.
That's a biggie.
School violence was that initiative also. They were very, very passionate about it. They're very, very passionate about common sense gun regulation. They were very passionate about that, and just getting violence out of the schools, period, whether it was guns or any type of weapons or just fighting at all. They were very, very passionate about that. And then they've broadened their horizons because it's justice and change. And justice is very broad. Humanity. They started out with those two initiatives, and then they expanded to humanity in general.
Yes.
They had a great deal to do with the when there was a shooting in Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh Jewish Temple. They came out for that. They were involved in the civil protest for that. They were involved in the vigil for that. They've done a lot of work in the community, feeding the hungry.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Feeding the hungry. They work very, very closely with the interfaith community. Pastor Rodney Coles is constantly asking them to help him with projects such as that, feeding the community. Last year, they worked with the Second Chance, with the reentry program. When the Governor Cooper came at the 3rd Street School, we got the students together and we served the food. It was like a grocery store, and the kids and the families could come and get food. And we had probably about 10 students who showed up. They showed up to help with that. They also have helped with Toys for Tots. They've helped with that as well. They've helped us in different schools like Falkland Elementary, helping to do food baskets for the kids when they go home for Easter,
Yes,
that they can
for
take
breaks.
for breaks
To make sure that they still have
to
nutritional
make
foods to ingest, to partake
exactly.
of. Yeah, that's awesome.
They've done that. They've done 2 rallies. They did a rally in 2000. Last year's rally was called the Rally for Humanity. And they covered a variety of topics from racism, sexism, also the environmental protections, juvenile justice, family violence, domestic violence,
Yes.
animal rights. They covered a variety of areas in that rally, and it was very well attended. Very well, and they are planning to do another one this year as well. And the one that they're going to do this year is going to be about suicide, teen suicide.
And of course, prevention, identifying risk factors and signs of anxiety, depression, frustration, bullying.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's going to start with bullying, yes.
Wow.
Oh, and they also did this past spring. They worked in conjunction with the national anti-bullying ceremonies that were going on. We worked at the Morewood School, the Morewood Center, and they did a program on anti-bullying, digital anti-bullying, internet anti-bullying, and they went in and they presented for the kids at the Morewood Center.
That is just such an awesome, relatable approach in that young people from middle school to high school, and that most of your organizational leaders certainly are high school students, that they can talk to and relate to and engage children and youth of all ages in the community.
Yes.
That is amazing. I just think that it is so important that we listen to the youth too often. And I heard you in the beginning emphasizing that you and Molly and the other adults involved did not tell the young people what to focus on and what to rally around and these kinds of things. But they came up with their agenda, with this movement. To engage young people. I think that is so significant. So there are times when we as parents and just as older citizens in the community, we need to get some lead from our young people, and they're taking the lead in this. How do you see this happening? How does it work in terms of our young people being in the schools? Are the schools in Pitt County, for instance, aware that this group exists and that they are engaging in these kinds of proactive humanitarian and justice issues?
Yes, Pitt County Schools is very aware. As a matter of fact, Karen Harrington, who is the director of student services with Pitt County Schools, is a big promoter and supporter of Pitt County Youth for Justice and Change. She's put out a lot of literature letting parents and the students know that this is a viable and very good organization to join if the children want to join. But yes, Pitt County Schools is very supportive of our organization. Wonderful. Very supportive of it.
Wonderful.
Yes, they are. As a matter of fact, Pitt County Schools is the one who got us involved with some anti-bullying campaigns.
Oh, great. That's great. That's great. What do you see coming forward for the youth in this year, this very, very interesting and concerning in some areas, 2020 and beyond? Do you foresee them becoming somewhat engaged, the more in political activity to the degree that they can? Of course, age will prohibit them from voting, but do you see them getting engaged in some of the issues that those of us who are of voting age and who will vote and who will seek offices in the various stages of election in our country, do you see them sort of taking that on too? Do they have an interest in it?
Yes. They are very civic. they are very much involved in civic engagement. Yes, as a matter of fact, they've put on several candidate forums. They started the candidate forums in June of 2018. Yes.
Wow.
They've had a candidate
They sponsored a forum
Yes.
for political candidates?
Yes, they did. They did that in
Wow.
June of 2018. They did it
Yeah.
at Green Springs Park right here in Greenville, where they invited all of the candidates to come and to participate. Because we had the midterms in November, and so they invited all of the candidates, and several of the candidates came. Several of them came.
That's great.
Yes, And we did hot dogs. We had hot dogs and hot dogs and chips. And yes, practically all of them came. And they're also planning another forum as well for the candidates. But they are very, very civic minded. As a matter of fact, to our president, who is Ellie Edmondson, who can't be with us today because she's on spring break visiting her family out of town, but she just voted for the first time during early voting. Wow. And she was so excited.
I'm sure
she was so
is.
excited.
I'm sure
she was so
she
excited.
was.
And we've had two other kids who also voted, who are part of this organization for the first time this year.
Wow. We're going to have you all to come back and maybe bring Ellie or someone else,
Yes.
one of the young people with you, so
Yes.
that we can just hear that excitement and that passion, because they are really just so stimulating and inspiring as they talk about their ideas and their passion. And we are just so proud of them in this entire Pitt County community, and for all of the great work that they are doing with Pastor Coles and with us, Churches
Yes.
Outreach Network and interfaith clergy. It's truly amazing. What would you say in behalf of Ellie, the president
Yes.
of the group who's not here today, and just in the entire group, what would you say to parents who are listening and watching this broadcast today? How can they encourage their young person, not to push them into doing something like this, but to talk with them perhaps and encourage them to be mindful of the things that matter in our lives, both as a child, as a young adult, as well as a middle age and a senior citizen, just life and our human concerns and connections.
Yes. Well, I would say to the parents or to the guardians or caregivers is that to let your children, your students know that there are groups, there are organizations out here, whether it's our organization, Pitt County Youth for Justice or Change, or any other organization where a child or student can belong to. They can belong to, and it gives them a sense of purpose, a sense of pride, that they can belong to an organization that's uplifting and doing things and doing great things for the community and for the nation and for the world. These kids, when they get together, they become very energetic. They're very stimulated, and they want to help and they want to serve, because when they serve others, they are actually helping themselves.
Yes.
And they're figuring all that out
Yes.
in terms of doing that. And it's also helping them to transition into adulthood as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just think it's so powerful that it enables them with their peers to think and to engage in those conversations that we sit at as adults, but sometimes they find or feel at least that they cannot sit at, but they have made their own table that they can sit at, and certainly receiving input from others of us, you and Mala, but their own parents as well as others, their teachers and other figures in the community. But they get an opportunity to think and to process and to see how they can connect and involved, and as you say, to serve.
To serve.
Yeah, they began that legacy that we all want to establish and give and lead, and that is one of service to our community. It's just so amazing, Faye, that Jesus, the Christ, says that he came, to serve. He said, I didn't come into the world to be served, but to serve. So we all can take him. He's our model for everything. We can take that as our lead and as our guide and as our impetus to find those areas in our community. You know, we don't have to go to Washington, D.C., or to New York or to Los Angeles, but in our local communities where God has planted or allowed us to exist and to live and thrive. But that we want the rest of our community to have that quality of life that each of us can have.
Exactly.
And that starts with our children, what we teach them, what we feed them, and I don't mean in the natural sense, but also intellectually, and what we encourage them toward. So would you encourage other young people to become engaged in this organization?
I most certainly do encourage students, youth, middle school age to college, yes, to become involved with Pitt County Youth for Justice and Change or any other organization.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Faye. Our time is up, and we are so privileged to have Faye Bardo with us this morning talking about Pitt County Youth for Justice and Change. Do encourage your young people to check out this organization. Take care, and we'll see you next time.